Hey everybody, welcome to eTrailer.com. I'm Bobby and today we're taking a look at the Rhino-Rack Vortex Crossbar system with the RS series foot pads to go ahead and get ourselves up on our 2017 Subaru Crosstrek. So this is gonna be a nice, very nice way. You can use a decent set of crossbars on top of your roof. So I will say Rhino Rack definitely become one of my favorite racks out there. Definitely very contendable between Yakima, Thule, all those high name brands. Definitely starts setting itself well above some of those more economic options, which is great. So you are getting your bang for your buck, which is excellent to see with these guys. Now with the Vortex bars as well, I think they have the nice little aero look to them as well, getting that aerodynamic look to go ahead and cut down on that wind drag. But secondly, we're getting these really nice toppers here to go ahead and fill in our T-slot attachments. So on that top portion here, we do have a T-track that's accessible by removing our little end caps here. The one thing I'll say about these Vortex strips though, they come out kind of like this. What ends up having to happen, you have to cut them, you have to size them up, and then you can go ahead and actually get them kind of custom fit for all of your accessories at home. Now that's not the end of the world, but it does kind of create issues like this, right? Where I have a smaller piece here that A, is a lot easier to lose. B, I do have slight little gaps here because now I've gone ahead and just cut a little bit, right? So I do have some missing. So that's the one negative I'll say that the Rhino-Rack Vortex bars have. If you're comparing this to something like the Yakima that has that depressed system, basically all that ends up happening, you press that rubber strip down, it gets out of the way and allows you to mount your T-slots really, really quick. That's probably the biggest failing that this has. And if that's it, then that's really nothing, right? Yes, we're gonna have to cut it to shape, but again, we're gonna have our own custom T-slot attachments, right? Our own accessories that we're throwing on there. So it's gonna be really easy for us to modify them to our own needs and then go ahead and make sure that we don't have any of those gaps. Now, that gap you're seeing there is because this guy's been in studio, it's been used for a couple different accessories, and that's where it starts failing. So if you really kind of wanna change up a lot of times of what you're throwing on here with that T-slot, maybe start looking at something different that's just to the press and you're not cutting it every time. But otherwise, great little system here. Let's start breaking it down some more. Now the bars are gonna be nice and sturdy as well. They are made from aluminum making construction as well, which makes them really resistant to corrosion. Now that black powder coat you're seeing on it as well can make sure that we're having it looking good for the years to come, which is great. Now with any powder coat, I will say though, it is susceptible to scratching. So if you find yourself kind of throwing your gear on here, you're gonna see little pits like this start kind of acting up a little bit. Now what's not too bad about that though, as long as we're treating it right, again, it should be holding up well. And again, this Vortex stripping at the top, A, it does a great job of adding a little bit of airflow in there, which is great, but B, does a great job of protecting our bars and of our accessories from having that contact and scratching themselves up. So that rubber is really nice to go ahead and place itself on there to prevent that contact. Now you do have 165 pounds of weight capacity with this system as well. Let's of course make sure we're not exceeding our own roof capacity by checking with our vehicle's owner's manual guide, but I don't think we're gonna have too much issues with that. Excellent to go ahead and see we have that high rating to get all of our gear where we need it to be. Now one thing I like about it here too, we do have some integrated security. We have this little plastic locking core, which makes it pretty easy to go ahead, open that up if we need with our included key. Now if you guys are wanting just a little bit more security measures on here, you actually can get these plastic keys changed out for a metal core. That way you get a little bit more securance than just this little gear housing in there. But all I had to do was pop out that end cap. That's gonna expose our T-slot here, which makes it really, really easy to go ahead and throw those accessories on. And one thing I like about those end caps, once we have our T-slots on here and our attachments on here, it'll be actually nice and secured by that end cap, which is great. Another little reason to get that metal one. But on the inside here too, you are seeing this nice little H protrusion, right? This is going all the way throughout our bar, giving us a nice, solid, rigid shape throughout the entirety of it. And that way, even in the middle here, if we start putting weight on it, it's not gonna be bending or flexing, it's gonna hold rigid and keep its shape. Well, to start getting our Rhino Rack installed, all we want to do, go ahead and take our foot pad. So we have our SX series here, and we simply want to go ahead and take it just like so. We're going to have all of our T-slot attachments right here ready for us to use. We just kind of want to get horizontal there, level, and then we want to flip our bar to where we're looking at the underside here. And then I just want to take this little guy, and I need to slot him in just like so. Repeating that process till the rest of those get on there. And there we go, nice and installed on there. Now at this point, you could add your end cap on here, but we're gonna be taking it off here in just a second, so we don't really have to. But if you guys are worried about this sliding out and potentially falling on your roof, could recommend that. That way you don't have any issues. But we simply need to take our bar and start setting it across our vehicle. So I've already gone ahead and put my first bar on there. So What you guys need to do too, go ahead and pick your positions. Now this is where it can be a little arbitrary for you guys at home, and it's going to be dependent on our own accessory needs, of course. I just went ahead and from 3 inches at this bottom point to my closest point on my tower here to give myself a good baseline of where I want to set my rack. I've already gone ahead and tightened these on here. Let's go ahead and see how we can get these back ones on. So I simply take my rack, I set it across. Go ahead and if you can, get it to fit in perfect. Otherwise, just go ahead, set it on top of those rails and walk yourself over. Now at this point, we're gonna have a couple steps. So the first big one, how far away are we setting it from our front bar? Well, a lot of us are gonna have a minimum requirement of 24 inches, not only for our roof rack system, but for a lot of our accessories as well. So all I need to do is from the center here of our front tower to the very end here, I need to move my guy back to about 26 inches, which is definitely a little bit back there. So right to the middle on center, I'm about 26 inches right there, which is great. I can go ahead and repeat that process here on the other side. Now, as I do it though, the next little portion we're gonna need to do is actually step towards the back or the front of your vehicle to get a good readout of our overhang here. So what's kind of nice about these bars, we don't actually have too much overhang, nothing I'm gonna be too worried about, but it looks like I could come a little bit just towards my passenger side here. And as I do that, all I want to do, take my tape measure again, and then from the top here, wherever I can fit my tape measure, it looks like I'm going to be putting myself right at about 1 inch there to the inside here. Since I don't have the cap on the other side, I'm just going to take that measurement, as that is going to add just a little bit of us. Looks like I could still afford to go, yeah, just a little bit more towards that passenger side there. So that should put me, yep, right about 1.5 inches. And I know that's kind of what I just lost there on the other side. So we should be nice and aligned. Now we need to go ahead and actually take our included hex wrench to go ahead and start tightening these down. Well, after we've gone ahead and double checked all of our dimensions and make sure that we're nice and aligned, we can go ahead and start tightening this up. And to do that, we're just going to head and take our included tool. We have that little screw in there and we just need to tighten this. So as we get close to the end here, this is actually kind of set to have the right amount of force that we can apply to these screws, which is great. And as I start getting towards the end, I'm going to have a little bit of resistance here to my turns. As I do, I'm going to waiting until instead of having this nice little curve right here, this is actually going to be straight. So it can take a little doing. I like to use that thumb and my index fingers on the counter rotation. Oh, sorry about that bump, guys, but makes it really easy to go ahead and get it nice and tight here. And it looks like we are getting nice and aligned. And right about there we are, pretty much straight there on that lever, which is great. We can go ahead and double check all of our connections though on all of our sides. Of course, remembering to add in our end caps as well. At this point, if you don't have any T-slot attachments, I would just go ahead, give it a real nice lock, and that way you're nice and installed. But otherwise, I think that about does it for our look here today at the 46-inch Rhino-Rack Vortex Crossbar system with the RS Series legs here on our 2017 Subaru Crosstrek. Here at eTrailer.com, I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.